Hello everybody and welcome back to Greenosity. And by the title of the video, you may be able to tell what this video is about. And I know you probably expected for it to be the FNAF 4 video or a Sonic Mania Superstars video, and I have one thing to tell you. While those two videos were originally planned to be for November, or well, one of them was originally planned for November, and I'm going to keep it a secret about which one won the polls. If you were in the Discord server, then you'll know. But the Sonic Mania / Superstars video or the FNAF 4 video will be coming out in December instead because I found something else that I wanted to do a video on. Do you remember when I said in my FNAF 2 video that I could not beat 1020 and that even though I tried, I just ended up skipping doing the custom night, or well, at least 1020, because you could see that I beat every other preset that wasn't 1020. Well, let me give you a little bit of a backstory. It was Monday. Monday before Thanksgiving, and I decided to take a break from level designing for the new Mikey the Hero game, and I decided, well, let's play FNAF 2 for a little bit. Because I was watching a lot of FNAF 2 custom night videos recently, and I wanted to see if I could still have some of the preflexes and see if I could still do some of the presets. So I did. I went and did 420 mode, and I beat it on my first try. It wasn't that hard. Then I decided, well, I guess my what do they call them? My reflexes are filled up enough to where I can attempt 1020. So I attempted 1020, and on my first try, I made it to 3 a.m. in like 2 years. The last time I touched this game was back in 2023, mind you, when I was posting on GameJolt with all those cryptic messages, with the preset where I beat up all the way to Fazbear Fever. But I made it to 3 a.m., and I got that feeling that, hey, I could actually do this today. And well, I was wrong. I wasn't able to do that today. I was able to, well, weirdly enough, do it on Thanksgiving. So let me take you through a little part of the history before we get into the run itself. So Monday, I made it to 3 o'clock or 3 a.m. before I died. Then I felt like I could do it. Then I made it to 5 a.m. Several attempts later, and because I was not timing it, I never knew when I died. So after that, I decided that, well, I was going to time it, and, that same day on Monday, I thought I beat 1020 when I didn't. I accidentally beat 420 mode, and I'm not even kidding. I used to have the recording, but I had to delete it yesterday because my computer's running low on storage. But trust me, I thought I beat 1020 on Monday, but I didn't. However, I would go on to Tuesday and try again. And Tuesday is where I would start to see the recurring pattern. On Tuesday, I had several close calls with 4 a.m.s and 3 a.m.s. However, the thing that made me recognize the pattern was that it got to 5 a.m. again, but this time I was timing it, only to know how far I was from beating the night. So basically, I got to 5 a.m., however, I had 30 seconds left within the night before Toy Bonnie, the menace that he is, showed up and basically ruined the night and let the music box wind down and the puppet escape. Then on Wednesday was a little different because it was the first time since I've been running the run since Monday that I actually got 2 separate 5 a.m.s. And the first one, I made it to 5 a.m. and got to, 15 seconds left on the night. What happened is, I ran out of flashlight battery, is what happened, and I died to Foxy. And the second run of 5 a.m. was basically the same thing as the first run where I died to Toy Bonnie, I believe. And I was watching tutorials left and right about 1020 to the point where after doing the runs, I would continue watching 1020 tutorials and videos and tips and tricks, and eventually I would stumble onto some forums on Reddit, and well, they were a little bit helpful, and I learned some other strategies like minus toys, -3, -7, and yes, I know that -3 is the easiest, with -7 being the hardest, and I don't know where minus toys is because I pulled it off a little bit, but then died because the toys work differently with installing. You have to use the flashlight to install them. So I ended up not doing minus toys, even though the setup was easy to pull off. And as for -3, I never did it because, well, my opinion, what makes -3 hard to do is that there's no blackouts, so Foxy can kind of just kill you whenever. I mean, Toy Bonnie's the only animatronic besides the Wizards and Toy Freddy that can do blackouts, and since the Wizards are basically not active in -3, it makes it harder because, well, Toy Freddy and Toy Bonnie come rarely. I mean, Toy Bonnie comes a lot, but Freddy doesn't, and Foxy has more of a chance to kill you on -3 and -7 than on the normal gameplay. So I never ended up using any of those cheese strats like -3, -7, and minus toys. However, I would continue. I actually did kind of start developing my own strategy just a little bit, and then decided, well, it wasn't really getting me anywhere. My original strat was called the no timer strat, where basically I was using the blackouts to time when I should pull off the mask and when should I flash Foxy. So basically, if you don't know, or when a blackout happens, you have to wait specifically 0.75 seconds for a left vent animatronic to clear. And what I would basically do, since I wasn't using a timer at first, was to go off the blackout. If you could see a little shiny part of the fan, plus just a little bit of the black part, then pull off the mask, then because the left vent animatronic would be gone. But if you wanted to get rid of Toy Bonnie, if he was in the vent before the blackout, or during, then just wait an extra second. And if you see more of the fan, just a little bit more, like if you can see a part of the gray part and more of the shiny parts, then Toy Bonnie should be successfully repelled. And as for Foxy, I figured out through a Reddit forum that he basically works on 5-second intervals, not 10, where basically every 5 seconds he will check to see if the equation of his D variable is true, and if he hasn't been flashed in a while, then he'll check it. Then the next 5 to 10 seconds, he will mark you as gotcha and jump scare you. So basically, what I was doing was basically flashing him 1 to 3 times, but also making sure to hold the flashlight to kind of prevent a Foxy jump scare when I would go into the cams. And it worked a little bit. I mean, I got to 5 a.m. like twice using that strategy. So do I think the strat could work? Yeah, I think the strat could work. Have I beaten it with that strat? No, I just ended up using the normal Shooter 25 strat. Or, well, kind of. Except I was using a different version of the Shooter 25 strat, where basically I was doing the right camp vent normally, and I just ended up using live split because my stopwatch, which is how I was kind of just timing it to see how much I had left in the night, was kind of inaccurate. I mean, I would have to start it as soon as the night begins, and that's kind of hard. So I just ended up using live split, which is much easier. I know it looks kind of ugly and weird to see it on the screen, but I promise you, if I could have just had an accurate version of the stopwatch and have my reflexes better, then we would have not had live split on the screen. Anyways, I just ended up using the Shooter 25 strat. And I know some of you think that using a timer is cheating, but when it comes to 1020 mode, I think that it is kind of necessary to use a timer, considering that it's just a bunch of RNG, and I know that there's a lot of people who have beaten it without the timer, but hey, this is my first time beating 1020 mode, so please just give me a little bit of slack. Anyways, so this is the strat that I was moving on from now on, is that basically starting the night, I would flash Foxy when I first hear the danger noise. So I'd open up the cameras, wind the music box. When I hear the danger noise, I would wait for it to be on the next interval that Foxy can check his equation. So either on 6 or on 11 is when I would pull down the monitor and start flashing Foxy. And I wouldn't flash him like 5 or to 7 times. I would just flash him from 1 to 2 times and then hold it for a third time. So basically just 2 to 3 times, but always hold for the last one. Then pull up the monitor, wind until the next interval where Foxy can check you. Anyways, then I would keep doing that until the first vent animatronic or office animatronic would come up. So basically, if a vent animatronic appears first, it's really rare for that to happen, but trust me, it will kind of offset the whole cycle. So I recommend, if you get a vent animatronic first that is not Toy Bonnie, I would definitely press FN and F2 to reset the game. However, if you get a vent or an office animatronic that is Toy Bonnie or the other blackout animatronics, this is where the cycle begins. So basically, you wait the extra 75 seconds after, or not 75 seconds, the 0.75 seconds for the blackout, and basically clears the left vent, which is how the right vent camp strat works. However, I know that there's a bunch of stuff with, like, the off cycles, and usually you will start on the off cycles. At least for my recording, I did start on an off cycle and not on cycle, because I know you're supposed to be winding from 2 to 6, pulling down at 6, doing the blackout, and then pulling off the mask, flashing them while you're going into cameras. And so basically this is what I would do on offset cycles, just to kind of, I don't know, count the seconds. That's what I did, is I basically did, I would wait 2 seconds before going in, and then go into the cameras, count for 6 seconds, pull down the camera, pull down the monitor, and most of the time there would be a blackout. And I did get back on the cycle, I think, like 2 or 3 times. I know that I got onto the cycle the first time after, like, I think the first 20 seconds of the night, first 20 or 30 seconds, and then I got back on cycle during the middle of the night, and then I went back off cycle, and then I think at the end of the run, I got back on cycle at, like, the last 15 seconds. Anyways, what I would do is basically just count. And Golden Freddy was never really a threat. One of the reasons why I never held down the light was because of Golden Freddy. Because there were a couple of runs where I did die to an invisible Golden Freddy while I had my mask on, because I was just holding control, which in hindsight is not the best thing to do when you're on 1020, when you have to conserve battery. But Golden Freddy is never really a problem throughout the run. I think he becomes less active, if anything, throughout the rest of the run. Basically, the only time I'd have to deal with him was at the very beginning of the run, and then sometimes he would spawn in the middle or the end. Golden Freddy's not even a main threat of this run. Why did Scott name it Golden Freddy? It's the same question that I asked towards Sister Location. Why did he name both 1020 variants after Golden Freddy, when Golden Freddy is not even a major threat in FNAF 2, and he doesn't even exist in Sister Location? It should just be called Toy Bonnie or Withered Foxy mode, considering that Toy Bonnie is one of the main threats, but Foxy just sucks. I mean, people like to clown on Balloon Boy, but he wasn't really even a problem during 1020. But Toy Bonnie and Foxy were just the worst, especially Toy Bonnie. Like, Foxy, I'd really die to Foxy. But Toy Bonnie. Toy Bonnie's the root of all evil, considering that he would just cause almost all of my deaths. And it's just, I don't like Toy Bonnie that much. If there's one thing that I could say about Toy Bonnie, he's definitely on the files. Definitely. Anyways, now let us get into the actual run. with the attempt being shown and me finally beating 1020, I kind of want to end things a little bit differently. First of all, I want to say thank you to The Bones 5, who creates a lot of amazing and enjoyable content. I know he just released his video about Markiplier's 1020 video, which was really entertaining, and without his FNAF 2 AI guide video, I would have not really learned about how the AI works and the real cap, which, if you guys didn't know, it's all characters are capped at 15 with an exception of Foxy, which is capped at 17, and Golden Freddy, which is capped at 10. And also, if you didn't know, Night 6 is like the third hardest night, at least, and at most is the second hardest night, considering that Toy Freddy is literally at his max AI at the end of Night 6, and everyone else is at a max of 5 to 10. But besides The Bones 5, I also want to thank Ambience for his tutorials. You might recognize me, or you might not recognize me. But I watched a tutorial for Night 6 2 years ago and was able to beat Night 6. And then I also watched her preset challenges for Custom Night and beat the whole game with an exception of 1020, obviously. I want to thank the Reddit forums for, well, just existing, because I would have never found about the Foxy thing and a couple of other things. And then there was this other YouTuber, I forget his name, but he kind of did the Shooter 25 Strat optimized edition, so it's like, I think the name of the video is called 1020 mode vent right camp. Excuse me. 1020 mode right vent camp extended, I believe. I will link all of their channels in the description for you guys to watch. And anything, with that being said, I'll see you guys with either the Superstars/Mania video or the Five Nights at Freddy's 4 video next month. See you guys, and remember, never stay up past 4 a.m.